You're about to lose something in the next few minutes. Not money, not time. You're about to lose the excuse that's been protecting you. Because once you understand what I'm about to show you, you won't be able to say, "I'm just not disciplined," ever again. And that's going to cost you your comfort. Listen to me carefully. You don't have a discipline problem. You have an identity problem. You don't see yourself as someone who executes, so your behavior follows that belief perfectly. You skip because that's who you think you are. You delay because that's who you think you are. You quit because deep down you expect yourself to. And that's the truth most people will never say to you. Right now, there's a gap. Not between your goals and your actions, between your identity and your behavior. You say, "I want to be consistent. I want to be disciplined. I want to change." But your internal identity says, "I'm inconsistent. I don't follow through. I start things and quit." And here's the problem. Your brain will always choose identity over intention. Every single time. So even when you're motivated, even when you're excited, even when you start strong, you fall back. Not because you're weak, because your identity pulls you back to what's familiar. Let me show you the real cycle you're stuck in. You start something new. You go hard for a few days. Then resistance shows up. And in that moment, you don't ask, "What should I do?" You unconsciously ask, "What would someone like me do?" And your identity answers, "Skip it. Do it tomorrow. Take a break." And you listen. Not because it's logical, but because it's consistent with who you believe you are. That's why motivation never works. Because motivation tries to override identity, and identity always wins. Here's the shift. Discipline is not something you do. Discipline is something you prove. And you prove it through consistent execution over time. Not perfect execution. Consistent execution. That's why one good day means nothing. One good week means very little. But repeated execution begins to rewrite identity. That's when everything changes. Because once your identity shifts to, "I am someone who shows up," you don't need motivation anymore. Your behavior becomes automatic. So how do you fix the identity gap? You don't fix it with motivation. You fix it with a system. And the first rule of that system is simple. Never zero. No matter how tired you are, no matter how busy you are, no matter how bad the day is, you never give zero. Some days, you give 100%. Some days, 60%. Some days, 20%. But never zero. Because zero is what destroys identity. Zero teaches your brain. We skip when it's hard. But even 10% teaches your brain. We show up no matter what. And that's the identity you're building. This is where most people get it wrong. They rely on willpower. They try to feel like it. They wait for the right moment. But disciplined men don't operate like that. They operate on systems. Because systems remove decisions. And when you remove decisions, you remove the chance to negotiate with yourself. A system tells you, this is what you do. This is when you do it. This is the minimum you must complete. No thinking. No debating. No emotional interference. Just execution. Here's how your identity actually changes. Not through affirmations. Not through thinking. Through evidence. Every time you execute, you cast a vote for a new identity. Every time you show up, you prove something to yourself. And your brain starts collecting that data. Day 1, no belief. Day 7, small belief. Day 30, growing belief. Day 60, strong belief. Day 90, identity locked. That's when discipline becomes permanent. Not because it got easier, but because it became who you are. Let me be direct. The reason you don't trust yourself is because you've trained yourself not to. You've said, "I'll start tomorrow," and didn't. "I'll stay consistent," and didn't. "I won't quit this time," and did. So now your brain doesn't believe you anymore. And that destroys discipline. Because discipline is built on self-trust. And self-trust is built on keeping your word. That's why systems matter. Because they force consistency long enough to rebuild trust with yourself. You don't need more motivation. You need a structure, a system that includes a clear daily commitment, a minimum standard, your non-zero, a tracking mechanism, a reset rule when you fail, because you will fail at some point. And when you do, the difference between success and failure is not whether you fall, it's how fast you recover. That's part of the system too. So, stop saying, "I'm not disciplined." That's not truth. That's a story you've been repeating. And stories can be rewritten, but only through action. Consistent, structured, system-based action. You don't become disciplined by thinking differently. You become disciplined by executing differently long enough to prove it to yourself. Subscribe for more wisdom, and I'll show you the rest.